Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Get ready for truth bombs, belly laughs, and the kind of accent that turns car into a two-syllable adventure. Here's your host, Sean.
Think of how easy it would be to be a damn Republican. Oh, what should I wear today? This stupid freaking red hat. What should I say today? I don't know. Just make sure it's cruel. Who do we listen to? That guy. Oh, the felon in the White House? Yeah, listen to him and that will be fine. Now he's talking about burning flags. He's going to have flag burning or whatever, because he knows there's a hell of a lot of flags with his picture on it that are going to get burned. There's a whole lot of that kind of crap that people are sick of. And I have to tell you, we can have our internal decision-making, our internal healthy debates, but I refuse to believe we do not have the luxury to fight amongst ourselves.
Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Good evening. It is August 25th, 2025. For the record, Canada Heavy Haul was first in the chat tonight. Good evening, Canada Heavy Haul in chat. Mission Ready Men, good evening in chat as well. Ooh, a little spicy on the sound there. There we go. There we go. It was one of those setups where I had everything ready to go. I hit start and the whole program crashed. I had to rebuild everything in the last few seconds. So I apologize, but thank you for being with me and sticking through it. If you're on any of the other outlets and you want to get into the live chat, the best place to do that is going to be YouTube. Just search up SHR Media and you can click live and you can jump right into the chat. Canada Heavy Haul is listening as he drives, and I appreciate that. Working, making the money. BZ is also in chat. You could get on in YouTube. So BZ, I explained earlier, the one I set up, the one that had the logo and all that other stuff, I was ready to go. And then all of a sudden, I went to hit start the stream and it all crashed. And I had to restart it and my segment wasn't set up and ready to go. I had to rebuild it at the last second. So here we are. But I'm doing better than Tim Walz is, because as you just saw, he's still absolutely batshit crazy. Can't imagine why that guy did not help the Democrats last go around. It's amazing. Oh man, DC is, and you remember Tim. He was the Cosmic Bard's in chat as well. Good evening, sir. You know Tim Walz. He was a guy that liked to dance around on stage a lot. And he was the one who actually went to DC when everyone was questioning if Biden was mentally okay, and came out with all the other governors and said, oh yeah, no, he's totally fine. Everything's cool. Keep going. And then we found out that he absolutely was not. But I digress. Speaking of DC, how's the federalization of DC working out? Well, it's not really. It's always been federalized. That's what people seem to forget, that it is a district and not, in fact, a state. The residential part used to be, and then Maryland wanted to get rid of that. So the feds took it, and here we are. Cosmic Bard in chat, BZ in chat. Did I miss anyone yet? Probably not. So 12 straight days without a murder in DC. I couldn't find the last time they went 12 straight days without a murder in DC. If you look on social media, residents are posting all over the place about how much better DC is right now. The influx of federal agents and federal law enforcement and the National Guard, just their presence, just being there. And you're seeing videos like I saw this week of a group of youths hanging out with the National Guard and talking to them and joking with them and getting along with them. You've seen the National Guard helping elderly people downstairs. You've seen a whole bunch of positive stuff coming out. Now, I know the pink reflective pot and pan bangers are going to tell you that it's horrible and it's evil, but it's not. What they're afraid of is to show everybody that when you enforce laws and when you hold bad people accountable and when you actually protect the civilians that live there, which is their job. That is government's first job, is to protect the people. When you do all that, things get better and people get happier. But the other thing that they don't want is people to realize that Democrats could have done this at any point. All the amount of federal help that cities get or are offered that they refuse to take or didn't take or won't take could have done this. And I don't care. We can have the discussion about the three-letter agencies and all the problems with them or whatever. But if you are a city and you're having a huge crime issue or an ongoing crime issue, or maybe you're just to the point where you can't get over that hump, you're making progress, your police department's doing well, you just can't get over that hump. There's plenty of resources that are offered to cities to do that. ATF, DEA, FBI, Homeland Security, it goes on, and the list does, in fact, go on and on. Democrats in charge of these cities, which, by the way, I don't know if you saw that Newsom pointed out on X, the 8 out of the top 10 most dangerous cities are in red states. Yeah, but they're all in blue cities. All of them are in blue cities. And you forget to put that little caveat in. We'll get to Newsom in a little bit. But that's what Democrats are afraid for you to find out, is that when you enforce laws, the soft on crime approach by law enforcement, Soros-style DAs, when you sidestep all of that and you actually start holding people accountable for their actions, it straightens up. And then you have idiots like this who are going to tell you, again, that what Democrats love to tell you, don't trust your lying eyes.
Issues voters care about. Where does Trump go? Migrant crime, carjackings, the really lurid, awful stuff that is a crazy, crazy visual. Don't take the bait, because most Americans are more worried about how are we going to address mental health issues?
No.
The visible homelessness that we see on streets? And how do we deal with mental health and other issues that drive the sort of random incidents that scare all of us?
No, it's not just the mental health. And look, that's a major part of it. We've been arguing about that for years in this country, what we're going to do to actually take mental health problems seriously. But that is a small segment of the crime that happens. A lot of it is nuisance crime. Yes, there are some isolated incidents involving mentally disturbed people and people who should probably not be out walking the street. And I'm not saying that doesn't exist. However, when you look at the broader picture of crime, when you look at these cities where there's no consequences for crime, there's no enforcement, and cops don't want to make arrests because it's a waste of their time, because they go to a DA who throws it out, or in like DC's case, either pleads everything down or throws it out, right? It kills the morale of law enforcement, but it also kills morale of the city. And again, as I said, your job, every leader's job, mayor, governor, president, is to protect the citizens within that city, state, county, country. That's the number one job, either from foreign threats or domestic threats or criminal threats. If you don't have safety in your cities, you don't have cities. When thugs control entire neighborhoods, if you've ever seen, Chicago PD, there's an episode where they go to this housing project with a huge fence around it, and it's run by a gang, and nobody can come in and out unless they have the gang's permission. And there's a conversation of like, hey, you guys can't come in because blah, 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 blah. And the cop says, yeah, I know what the rules are, but we're going after this guy. This is blah, blah, blah. And the gang lets him in. Now, obviously, that's TV and that's fake. But that sort of idea comes from a reality. Academy Homes in Boston used to be one of those places, and I'm waiting for Mission Ready Men to chime in. There's a bunch of those places where the criminals take over blocks, apartment buildings, parks, neighborhoods, and they own it. They run it. It's been going on for years in these big cities. It's why when Giuliani became mayor of New York, he said Times Square is going to be clean. And they went house. And they went absolutely house because Times Square, much like our nation's capital, was a huge draw for New York. It's where a lot of people who tourists went to after they went to the Empire State Building and the Statue of Liberty. And then you go to Times Square even now, and it's been allowed to erode because you had Bill de Blasio and Eric Adams didn't do a lot of great stuff. But you go now compared to the 70s and 80s, and it's an entire different animal, right? This is what these Democratic mayors are missing. And now Bromley Heath, another one, Castlegate, yep. Cathedral was another one. All those places in Boston, look them up. They used to just be, it was horrible. If you didn't live there and you went in there and you didn't have a badge and a gun, you'd be lucky if you came out in one piece. But when you have people like this, I don't know why she's still up there, sorry, idiots like this who are telling you don't trust your lying eyes, it is not to protect you. It is to protect them. Which brings me to my next favorite idiot this week so far. Oh, I get two.
Calling for military.
Let's start with this guy. It's so hard because they're both morons, and I don't know which level of moron I want you to hear first, but I'm going to go with this guy just because.
As the mayor of this city, I can tell you that Chicagoans are not calling for military occupation.
Nobody's calling for military occupation. So there's a difference, too. That's the other thing that they immediately want to throw the military occupation out. Usually, when the National Guard is called in to cities or states, just like Obama did with Baltimore for the Freddie Gray riots, they're there as a supportive capacity. They're there as a deterrent. They're there to observe and report for the most part. Now, if something happens immediately in front of them, that's different. But they're not serving warrants. They're not stopping cars. They're not holding people at gunpoint and searching everybody who walks down the street. So when they get into the scare tactic about why the military and National Guard showing up into cities is horrible, that's all it is, a scare tactic. It's not real life. You look at DC, you see what the guardsmen are doing up there, right? They're standing on corners. They're escorting people. They're being a very, very visible presence. And guess what? Carjacking and murders are down since they've been there. So something works. They're not kicking in doors. They're not sleeping in people's houses. They're not robbing people. They're not violating rights. They're not doing any of this shit. But this is how the left has to frame it.
They are calling for the same thing that we've been calling for some time, and that's investment. What safe cities across America all have in common, they invest in people, and that's what we're doing in Chicago.
But you have to invest in safety first. Like I said, look at Newsom in Times Square. I mean, not Newsom, I'm sorry, Giuliani in Times Square. I'm going to get struck by lightning or punched in the face for that one, right? You can invest in schools, you can invest in parks, you can invest in all these different things. What good does it do if the criminals take it over?
We need the federal resources to make sure that we're building more affordable housing, expanding mental and behavioral health care, education, all of these things that could reduce crime and provide real.
But it doesn't reduce crime, and we've seen that over the last couple of years. We saw these soft on crime policies. We've saw all this investment, all this bad money thrown after bad money after bad money. Look at the homeless issue in California. How many billions of dollars, taxpayer dollars, were spent on that?
Community safety. Instead of spending hundreds of millions of dollars for a publicity stunt to invoke chaos and terror,
it's not,
the federal government should
somebody tell me where the chaos and terror in DC is. It stopped 12 days ago.
Spend that money on proven solutions to crime and violence reduction. We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence.
That's where you're wrong, bucko. You most certainly can. When you get the big players off the streets, when you start holding people accountable, when shitbags see higher level shitbags going to federal and state prisons for long period of times. Guess what? That stops people from wanting to be shitbags. And the organizations and gangs that they're a part of, which, by the way, Chicago, huge gang problem. When you start breaking down those gangs and the leadership falls apart, their control over the neighborhoods fall apart. Which is why when you work dope and guns and all this other stuff, you try to work up to the top. You cut the head off the snake. But they don't want to act like that exists. They want to talk about unicorn farts and rainbows and a perfect society. Oh, this would be absolutely perfect if we just did these 4,000 things that cost more money and people. I mean, how many times have we heard from these pie in the sky ideas that they invest all of this money and nobody does anything with it? Homelessness in California yet again.
We've already tried that. And we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world without solving the problems of crime and violence. The addiction on jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that.
Whose addiction? Because I'll tell you right now, as a taxpayer, I do not want to pay millions and millions of dollars, Mr. Mayor, to incarcerate people. That being said, there may be a cultural issue that needs to be dealt with, that until that's dealt with, we're going to have prisons that are full. Until kids in big cities and small cities and towns, but until the youth are raised to respect themselves and other people and stop shooting people over a pair of fucking shoes, and because somebody wore the wrong color to the wrong neighborhood, maybe then we can start worrying about investment in inner cities. But we're not there yet. See, you all want to look to the government to solve these issues, the nanny state. You want government to come in and hold everybody's hands. Well, government coming in and holding a lot of people's hands is how we fucking got here. It's why there are communities that don't, that fathers in the home are next to nothing. It's why there are communities where kids are running the streets with guns on them, selling dope, shooting people, robbing people, and there's no older people who are telling them to cut the shit and smacking the hell out of them. It's a societal problem. Nanny state started in the 60s, and it hasn't gone well for low income and inner city communities. And it's not just in the Black community, but let us not forget that you have, as a young Black male in America, your biggest threat is another young Black male, statistically proven over and over and over again. You can't sit here and hug your way out of this. It's two sides. The parents need to stop saying my kid would never and start kicking their ass a little bit when they're young. Start paying attention to who they're hanging out with when they're young and getting out ahead of it. Is that going to solve every single case? No. But it's going to take a lot of cases off the board and allow you a chance to focus on the real problematic people, including mental health. Now, before I let Dickhead keep running his mouth, heyjackass.com is someone SHR Media has been going to for years whenever we talk about Chicago. Year to date, well, let's talk about August. It is the 25th of August, and 27 people have been shot and killed. In the city of Chicago, 164 people have been shot and wounded. Total homicides, 29. This week alone, 8 killed, 37 shot and wounded, 45 total shot, 8 homicides total. Year to date, 234 shot and killed, 1,064. These are numbers out of the Middle East and Iraq. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Total shot, 1,296, 278 homicides. And you want to talk about how it's not a crime problem. You want to talk about how it's just we're not investing in enough parks. We're not investing in enough this and enough that. No, it's not it's a huge crime problem.
It is racist. It is immoral.
It is not
unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down. We cannot return to the same failed strategies that got us here in the first place.
Stop right there. And people older than I will tell you that there was a time, let me get rid of him. I'm done listening to him. There was a time in the early 80s where things were off the chain. And then in the 90s, things actually started to improve, even in bigger cities. Why did they do that? Because a lot of cities started actually enforcing laws and holding people accountable. And they valued public safety. They started to invest in public safety, and they got better training for cops. So to turn around and claim that this is only racism, I'm going to tell you something, pal. We're years past it. Nobody's buying it except for all the people you're paying to stand around you. That's gone. You want to stop, and I can't imagine why you wouldn't. You want to stop seeing young black kids shot and killed? Then start up arresting the people who have the guns and start getting those shitbags off the street. Because it's not just that they don't have an opportunity or that the community center isn't open at midnight for basketball. Guess what? The shootings happen at the community centers that are open at midnight for basketball. It's ridiculous. And it goes over and over and over again. Here's another idiot to Chicago, and I'm getting to a point in a few minutes. Here's another idiot from Chicago.
What is your response to hearing the President of the United States call your city a killing field, a disaster?
Well, obviously it's false, but we know that he's trying to distract attention from his kind of mismanagement of the economy, as well as the Epstein files. I think there's
it's a pivot. That's my point right there, the pivot. It's the most amazing thing in the world when they pivot that quickly. And to say that my city isn't a killing field, we just went over the numbers. Chicago is a killing field. And guess who the victims are?
Real problem that he finds with those particular issues, and he wants to try to change the channel, change the conversation. The problem with deploying National Guard troops in Chicago or other cities is, of course, it's illegal and unconstitutional.
Wrong. That's wrong. That is so unbelievably wrong. It's happened dozens and dozens of times, and it's entirely legal. Oh, and by the way, Mr. whatever the hell your name is, let me remind you that during his first term, he reached out to Mayor Lightfoot at the end of the summer 11, said, hey, whatever federal resources you need to try to get your city under control, to try to make it safe again, to try to let it start to grow again, let me know. I'll give it to you. I'll offer you everything up to and including the National Guard. I'll authorize the deployment. And it was denied. And
I think right now we are counseling, people in Chicago and other places, basically do whatever it takes to prevent this from happening. File declaratory judgment actions, temporary restraining orders in federal court.
Keep letting kids get killed. That's what they're saying. Keep letting kids get killed because it looks better for me if Trump doesn't come in and clean up. And here's another one too. He wasn't going to. He was going to send the actual people who enforce the law. Listen to the barking seals. And I know BZ just kind of bigfooted my ending to all of this at the bottom of the hour. Listen to the barking seals behind him yet again. Wrong. And then he goes after the whole point that, Trump is slipping mentally, yada, yada, yada. But he said, President Trump, do not come. Well, he's going to send the National Guard. He's not coming. But once again, we get to the point of When is it that Orange Man Bad just doesn't carry water for the left anymore? And I'm being entirely sincere in my questioning of this, because this is all that is Orange Man Bad. There are people, and if you go, here it is. Read this article right here. Share this tab instead. There we go. This is from Amy Curtis over at Twitchy. And if you read this, it's residents talking about how they would be thrilled if what is happening in DC could happen there. And go over to Twitchy and read the whole article. You got to check it out because it's worth it. But even if you don't read the article, the statistics tell the story. The statistics tell you everything you need to know. This is not an issue like somebody said, oh, he's only going after the city with black mayors. He's going to the places where crime's the worst. And Chicago, crime is among the worst. And it has been for years. For years. But Orange Man Bad. And to Governor Pritzker, who is an oaf and a loaf all at the same time, he's the Democratic version of Chris Christie. But the reality of the fact is, this was we all know he wants to go elsewhere. He's trying to get into the White House one way or the other. This was your opportunity to turn around and say, you know what, Mr. President, I disagree with you fundamentally on so many things, but the well-being of our citizens is more important to me than politics. And the well-being of our school children and the well-being of everybody that lives in the city is more important to me than politics. So please, let's have that conversation. Let's get to the point where we start talking about public safety and taking it seriously. That way, we don't have to have young people being shot and killed every single day, repeatedly, over and over again, into a meat grinder that is the equivalent of the Middle East violence in America every single day. And we can get rid of certain people like this from being rich as a result.
They at Howard University. People feel they're under siege. They are being picked on. When you look at the cities the president has named, all of those cities have declining crime rates, and all of them have black men.
The declining crime rates is the biggest joke ever. Well, crime's on the way back down. Okay, don't you want it to go down even further, even faster? Because look what it did in DC. And you say this is racism, but I don't know if you realize this. It's not just white guys in the National Guard. It's not just white guys who are federal agents. And if they're saving young lives who are kids with a dark paint job, doesn't matter what their background is, how is that racist? Once again, this has nothing to do with race and has everything to do with their policies don't want to be exposed. They do not want to be exposed because once people get a hint that, you know what, maybe this year a bullet won't come flying through my window when I'm trying to put my kids to bed, they might start voting differently. We'll be right back.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
Ever dream of escaping the daily grind? At Escapist Travel and Tours, we make those dreams your reality. From breathtaking adventures to cultural immersions, we offer escapes tailored just for you. Let us take you to places where every moment feels like a new chapter in your life's adventure. Visit www.escapist.travel or call us today at 1-855-885-81776. Your escape awaits.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? And check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com.
Welcome back to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHI Media Network. Hey, if you're in the New York area on the 30th of August, Brandon Straka, who we interviewed years ago in this show from Walk Away, they're holding a New York United Against Democratic Socialism rally. I'm not being paid. I wasn't asked to say this, but I thought this was a good event. It's happening at Washington Square Park, and it starts at noon on the 30th. So if you're in New York, might as well make it happen. I apologize to the chat. I know I've ignored the chat a little bit tonight. I haven't repeated as much as I usually do, but I was ranting. It just makes me so furious how they always want to say, "Oh, it's all about politics," and then their exact reasoning for not doing anything is all about politics. If you go through, there was a whole bunch of great things said in chat. You can watch on the replay. If you are listening on the podcast, sorry, a whole bunch went by. Maybe if you're here live on Monday and Wednesdays, you can be in the live chat enjoying it too. Cosmic Bard says, "Look, I've been shot," as I slowly tuck the gun that shot me out of my right hand and behind the back out of view. 100% Cheetah. Al, not so sharp, and he pops his head up like a Pez dispenser. He does look like a Pez dispenser. It's so bad. And spews lies. Who the heck wants to hear anything from that idiot? Obviously CNN does. Or is he MSNBC? He's one of those two. I mentioned at the break my blood pressure was high, and BZ said mine's 210 over 190 normally. And then he said, "We feel left out, like you think it's your show or something." I know. I try to make you guys all a part of it. I really do. I try to have some fun with that. So I want to talk a little bit about today. And look, I've said this before. When Trump does something I don't agree with, I'm going to say it. And today he signed the executive order banning flag burning. Now, this has already been ruled on by the SCOTUS a couple times. It's a protected speech. It's a protected act. And I absolutely agree that it is a disgusting, horrible, just terrible, absolutely vile act. But just like people shouldn't be stifled in their speech and what they say, then flag burning is protected to it. I hate it. But one of the things you do get is a video now to see who the assholes are. And it's just like everything else they try to outlaw in this world. It doesn't go away. They just find another form. And I don't think this, look, the flag is an amazing symbol. It is who we are. It is part of our legacy. It's part of our fabric. I get all of that. But what happens when the next president says podcasting for whatever reason? And if the flags being the burning being banned is allowed for this, then that's another type of free speech. And what if they limit that? And it's a slippery slope, and I don't like it when that slopes. So I am absolutely not for that whatsoever. I really hope that, and it's, It's probably it shouldn't be illegal. And yeah, no, BZ has a great point. If you're actually taking the flag out of circulation, if you no longer fly it, the proper way to dispose of it is to actually burn it. And I know there are going to be people in the chat that don't agree with me on this, and Big E is one of them for Mission Ready Men. But I do worry about, and like I said, this is probably going to get thrown out in the Supreme Court, but I do worry. I don't like it. I really don't like it. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's something that he should have done. Look, if somebody's burning the flag, you make them famous or infamous, however you want to look at it. They're scumbags. They're dirtbags. They're lower than life. There's not enough words that I can use to describe them, but I think they do have that protection under the First Amendment. It's horrible. I hate when people do it. I think it sucks, but I think it's unfortunately protected along with a lot of other acts. Like I said, you don't want to go down, especially from this side of the aisle, when we try to lock onto the Constitution and say, hey, everything has to be constitutional. That's how we should exist. It's already been upheld that it's constitutional for years. Yeah, no. And Cosmic Bard says 3 Washington teens are facing 10 years for skid marks on the LGBT Rainbow Road. Look, I agree that should not be. Well, you could have the argument that that's destruction of property because the city painted it. That's a totally different thing. But that's not they're being charged with. They're being charged with a hate crime, which I think is stupid. You have the right to be an asshole in this country, right, wrong, or indifferent. If I want to buy an LGBTQ flag, and I don't, I'm not saying I would do this, and walk to the corner and burn it in front of everybody, I probably will be arrested for a hate crime, right? It shouldn't be like that either. That should be totally protected. And that's my property. I'm burning it for whatever reason. Again, I'm not saying I would do that, but that should be protected as well. Free speech is super important to protect. The First Amendment's just as important as the other ones. And I firmly believe that, and I disagree. And that doesn't mean that I'm a Trump hater. It doesn't mean that I think he should be thrown out of office or any of the other bullshit. No. I absolutely agree that none of that stuff should also be illegal. And, it's a slippery slope. I know we can have a whole bunch of arguments on this. I know some people disagree with me. That's fine. I respect you. You have the right to disagree with me. You have the right to your opinion. But when we stick to the Constitution, as much as I hate seeing it, and I know when people are burning it, what's in their heart, it's the same response that I have when it is to expose people who say shitty things. It's their right as much as you don't like it. The other thing that happened that I'm not thrilled about either, and look, when people say, oh, you just kissed Trump's ass, blah, 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 blah. No. When it's called for, I try to be fair. There's this program that they're talking about where 600,000 Chinese students can come to the U.S. to go to school. Commerce Secretary Lutnick says, if you don't have these students, the bottom 15% of colleges will go out of business. Good. Don't bring 600,000 Chinese students here. Now, if they want to come here and they do the process legally to go to school and they're investigated, that is fine. I understand. If they make it into a school and all of their background checks out fine, just like anybody else from overseas, I'm okay as long as they're actually investigated. That being said, I am not okay with just lump summing 600,000 here to protect the bottom 15% of universities. Most of these universities don't give a frog's fat ass about our nation, so why should we give a fuck? And look, if they go out of business, that's business, right? That's how it works. So if that's how they're hedging their bets, maybe those bottom 15% should go open a university in China. That's up to them. The EO actually is criminal and civil laws against an American flag desecration that violate applicable content neutral laws while causing harm unrelated to expression consistent with the First Amendment. Well, there you go. Like I said, I just don't want to see it as much as I get it. The flag is special. I was using podcasting as an example. I know if I disappeared tomorrow, it would not matter anywhere close to what the flag means to this country. Mick, thank you for being in chat. I absolutely agree with you that the flag is that important, but I'm talking about the act of protecting something under the First Amendment. The First Amendment came before the flag did. Right? It was written before the flag did. It was what the founders were warning against and protecting against and telling government that they can't infringe upon these rights because they're God-given rights, whether we like it or not. And I don't want to see that get any more eroded than it already has in this country. So I understand what you were saying. I understand. And I agree with you with how special the flag is, but the amendments are inalienable, right? That's nature's law. It's things that can't be taken away, even the ones we don't agree with. Those shitbags who do it, that I don't agree with and that I hate, and that if for some reason they evaporate off the face of the planet, I would not lose an ounce of fucking sleep over. The trade-off to that is it goes back to I may not like what you say, but I will defend to my death the right for you to say it. It's for me. For me, it is the underlying versus just the immediate cause. It is the long-term implications and how that can be used. And again, you start saying the First Amendment doesn't apply here, then they can start applying it to somewhere else. If the Supreme Court upheld this and say, well, this part of your rights can be taken away, we start having more problems. And actually, the First Amendment does not say you can't yell into a crowded theater. That is misused over and over and over again. And there's pages about why you can yell certain things and its implications and yada, yada, yada. That's not a First Amendment act because you're now infringing on other people's rights and well-being, and you are putting them in immediate jeopardy. You do not have the right for that reason, not just because you can't say it. Oh, I knew when I brought this up that the chat room was going to argue with me today. Biggie, I do not know what the 5 other countries that allow burning of flags because I usually don't give a shit about other countries. We have our own issues to worry about right now, but send it. I want to know. Doesn't make it illegal to burn more why it was burned. Yeah, no, I don't think that he was taking away with the proper route for disposal, which that is the proper route for disposal for a flag that is retired. And I'm not, like I said, this is certainly, you all know me. This is certainly not a moment where I am arguing to argue. I've defended Trump a billion times and a bunch of other things where I think he's right. I just don't think he's right here. Just like the 600,000 Chinese students, I don't think it's right. I never said the man is perfect. I will never say that any man is perfect because none of us are. But I don't think this is it. Now, if Congress passes a law, that forbids it, I think that's different. If the law stands a constitutional test because it was passed by the House and the Senate and signed by a president, okay, great. Pass the law. But just like the constitutional carry, let's pass that too, because I think the 2A has been eroded under the guise of states' rights when states' rights was never even considered when it came to 2A. Right? So if you're going to start clarifying things, start clarifying everything. But look, Mick, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your opinion. I just don't agree on this one. It's probably going to be few and far between that I don't agree with Trump on something. This is one I think it's just a dangerous slope. That being said, I don't disagree that him agreeing to I don't agree with the fact that him sending the National Guard in to all those other states, as long as there's agreements with the governor, is illegal either. So I didn't say it was worded that way in the First Amendment. Not funny to me. No, I look, like I said, you have the right to your opinion on this one, just like I have the right to mine. But I worry about the constitutional implications of what can be eroded as a result, because as we know, and as we've seen, as soon as the left finds a way to start nibbling away at our rights, they run with it as fast as they can. And that's something that absolutely has to be worried about in this day and age. It shouldn't have to be worried about. We shouldn't have to be having this conversation. But we know the left will do that. And that's where case law starts to come in. That's where constitutional law starts to come in. You have to look at the totality of all of that. Now, do I agree with his sentiment behind it? 100%. 100%. I think the flag should be protected. I think the flag should, but protected by taking care of it, by preserving it. And if some asshole wants to buy their own flag off some Chinese website in Amazon and use it to look like a bigger asshole in public, then make sure you get their face on camera and make sure everyone knows they are an asshole. Future employers, all of that, let them know who that person really is. But you can't just throw out blanket stuff like that when the Supreme Court has ruled it in a Texas case back in the 70s, and I think another one back in the 40s. So it's even been upheld constitutionally, whether we like it or not. What do I have? 13 minutes left, 12 minutes left already. I spent a lot more time on that than I meant to. I actually haven't noted that was going to be a quick segment. And it turned into 18 minutes. But hey, look, I am glad that people in the chat room can disagree with me and still voice their opinion in their way and I respect it. Like I said, I respect your opinion. I just don't have to agree with it in this particular case. That being said, we probably agree on 99 other things. So I don't believe that anybody should be fighting over this just because, and that's the biggest problem that I think we have in politics today. People say, oh, we disagree on this one thing, so now we're going to walk away. As I brought up Chicago and DC earlier, with the governors and the mayors being absolute assholes and jackasses and allowing their people to die when they have resources that could be given to them, right? Those are places where you can turn around and say, yeah, we don't agree on all these other things, but we can agree here. You can start to make it, pardon me, inroads, right? But I think that's why we on this side of the aisle do communication and diplomacy with each other and overseas a lot better than the ones on the left, because the ones on the left, it's just orange man bad. Everything you say is bad. You have an R next to your name, you're bad. You're a conservative, you're bad. That's not even close to the case. So here's a good law. Ban masking. Yeah, look, pass the law. Kiwi lass all the way over there in New Zealand. Here's a law: ban masks and face coverings in public. Go for it. I would support that. The other nations that would allow flag burning are Canada, UK, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark allow flag burn. I did not know that. Like I said, with stuff like that, especially this day and age, I could do hours upon hours upon hours of everything that's wrong in Canada and the UK and Europe in general and how they got there. But I just really don't give a shit about them anymore. And I don't mean the people individually. I have friends, obviously, Canada Heavy Hauls in here. We still have enough going on here that I absolutely want to just focus as much as I can and only talk about them when they come up. If you're only expert on the flag, you're protected. If your act is to incite or use it, regardless, is what the EO is saying. Well, okay, so there's going to be a whole conversation of law and applicability and all that other stuff. But here we go. Yes, I agree with that. If you were trying to incite a riot while burning a flag and using that flag as a motivating item to incite said riot, then you should be arrested for inciting the riot. If there's an additional charge at that point for using the American flag in a way that is to create violence, okay, I'm all for that. But it's not just burning. You could also argue that hanging it upside down in that situation could do the same thing. I mean, there's all these different ways that they desecrate that you could absolutely make the argument. Yeah, cosmic part. It's just like using as a hand grenade. Yes, that part I'm okay with. Like I said, But there are other, at that point, you're already creating other felonies that 1 year tag on doesn't really matter, right? Because if you're inciting a riot and inciting violence and you're creating a hostile situation, or you're creating all of these absolute insane people to go nuts and break and destroy and hurt and maim and kill, then yes, you're going to have you should be going to jail for that anyways. And if this is a tag along, that's fine. But the simple act, as you said, yeah, I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying in the chat, but my simple point is, we have to, you can never overstep our constitutional amendments, even if it's with good intentions, is my point. 8 minutes left, and I haven't had my weekly chance to light up Gavin Newsom, so I'm going to change gears. If you honestly want to keep yelling at me in the chat, I'm just kidding. I appreciate it. I love it. I love the fact that, and this is intelligent chat. It's one of the best parts about doing this show. There is so much intelligent chat going on in the chat room that everybody who's not here is missing it. Here's another thing. He's getting left to argue in support of burning the flag. They take the bait. Yeah. So, Big E, if this is and it could 100% be the fact that he's baiting them in. I know. I think he's awesome at that stuff. I think he's great at that stuff, and nobody does it better. Nobody does it better than Donald Trump at pissing off the left. Look, they're out here supporting crime in these cities because he's trying to stop crimes in the cities. I've said before, if Trump's tears cured cancer, they would be pissed that he doesn't cry enough. There's no right answer, no matter what he does. And this was my whole point of my whole show, actually. No matter what, their only argument right now is orange man bad. And this is why, and I'm about to cover this with Newsom really quick while I have 6 minutes left, about why this shows that they have no actual policy whatsoever on the left. And we know that, those of us who were engaged, but I don't think it's expressed enough. And I don't think that going into these midterms, people are realizing just how lost the Democratic Party is. Kiwi Lass says, trade me for a lib. Yeah, I will absolutely send you a lib. You can come over here. I would sponsor you. Just so you know, Kiwi Lass, I would make sure. President Trump is 3 moves ahead. This is McMahon in the chat. 3 moves ahead of the others. Sometimes 4 and 5, my friend. Sometimes 4 and 5. So BZ sent me this from Breitbart. California Republicans file challenge to Newsom's gerrymandering plan, which we all saw was coming. I think there's actually some standing here. It'd be interesting to see how. I'm not an expert on this, so I'm not going to pretend to be. It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. It's not in the Constitution. To suddenly change the Constitution of the state of California in order for political aspirations to be met, I don't know if that's going to pass muster, and I don't know if it's going to be allowed, but we shall see. The bigger picture about this with Newsom, he's still flailing. His social media is still ridiculous. He's letting those idiots run his social media. I know there are some saying right now that they think that he's regretting that and he doesn't know how to get out of it. But remember, he's doing things. Everyone's talking about, like, all the left is talking about how great Newsom is. Spencer Pratt, who is he's some sort of actor. I don't really know him well, and I'm not going to pretend I do. I know he's a Democrat, whatever, but he's been going after Newsom about the fires and the fire aid money. He's the one who also pointed out that there was a fire a couple years ago in Napa, and Plumpjack, which is Newsom's winery there, ran a fundraiser for the victims and kept almost $500,000 or $400,000 as an administrative cost that most likely went to Newsom and his friends. And he's been all over them about the Palisades fire. Pardon me. And Newsom's team has been so upset about it that they reached out to TikTok and got his account, because he's on TikTok, a strike, potentially eventually leading him to being shut down and his account being canceled. If you're winning on the argument, they try to shut you down, and that's what Newsom's doing right here. And he keeps going on and on. And you know, I posted this earlier today. I wonder how Kamala is feeling right now, knowing that Newsom is sidestepping her to try to get the nomination now, because she's being played right out of the picture. You haven't heard about her forever. Everyone's talking about Newsom, and this bump that he has is going to be minimal. He only has a poll bump right now because he's making waves, right? Oh, he's Orange Man bad. He's standing up to the Orange Man, blah, blah, stand up to Texas. He's not. Texas has that in their constitution. But the one thing is, when all this is said and done, no matter how this redistricting thing pans out, at the end of the day, he still has to run on his record. And even his own party will absolutely chew him apart because he said things like this in the past that will get played over and over again.
Affordability is number one. Issue of housing costs everywhere I go. That's the universal issue. Number two, people are just fed up with the homeless crisis in the state. No other state in the country has many people out in the streets and sidewalks as the state of California. I think if the next governor doesn't address the issue of affordability on housing, that governor will have failed.
By the way, he's the next governor and he has failed miserably, and he keeps failing. Just like all the other left are going to keep failing because, as I said earlier, they don't have a message going into these midterms. That's what this distraction is. That's what all of the distraction is. They have no leadership. They have no message. They have no vision for this country, at least that they're willing to say publicly. Can anybody, and I mean anybody right now, honestly tell me without Googling it what the Democratic platform is on their website? Not even Democrats can. Nothing, because there's nothing there. They have no leader. You have all of these people who are trying to be the leader of the Democrat Party. You have Ratchet Crockett, you have Pritzker, you have Newsom, you have Kamala, who hasn't said much of anything lately. You have all these different people who are trying to be the leader. Hakeem Jeffries, Dollar Store Obama there, and none of them are. And they know that. And they don't have any policies that will actually help the American people. And they know that too. So all they're going to do is keep running these sideshow carnival events to try to keep you focused on anything except for the fact that they have no winning policies. The fact that they're focusing so much on this redistricting tells me that they've already kissed away the midterms. I 100% right now. I think they're going to lose the midterms. Some of these blue in California, even some of these Democrats are at risk. And yeah, if they pass it, redistricted, it'll get rid of blah, 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 blah. But right now, they have nothing. Newsom, Big E just said his record is abysmal. Yeah. Yeah. I find a win in the Newsom administration. Find it. Because you can't. What? He talks about how, oh, we're the fourth biggest economy in the world. Yeah, and we're still bleeding money left and right because our leadership sucks. The state is poor and broke because the leadership sucks. Let's look at what you didn't do for all the fires, not just Pacific Palisades, Paradise Fire, and other places where you weren't maintaining the forests. Let's talk about homelessness. Let's talk about crime. Let's talk about COVID, how you were arresting people for going to the beach. His record is garbage. Pritzker's no better. His record is garbage. All of them are like this because they have nothing. They have no future. They are flailing, and they will continue to flail through the midterms and then cry about everything except for what it is. They have no future. They have no vision. And if they don't actually get their shit together, they may have no place in this country as far as leadership goes. Because I'll tell you right now, if Trump is successful with DC and it shows that you can clean up a city because all of this soft on crime, liberal bullshit and hugging people and unicorn farts wins, or doesn't win, I should say, and that actually protecting people wins, it could be game over really, really quick for a lot of these Democrats, both in states and cities. And local elections have to start becoming more important to our party as well. Folks, that's it for me. I didn't even get to half the shit I wanted to talk to. I spent way more time talking about the flag than I thought I was going to. That's short-sighted on my part. I should have known that the chat was going to actually be very, very vocal and involved in that. And I thank you very much for doing so. I appreciate you all. I really do. You can check me out every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on the SHI Media Network. Make sure you check me out also with our good friends over at KLRN Radio. Sundays, 5 p.m., The Lost Wanderers Show, The Cosmic Bard Show, 5 p.m. Pacific, that is, on our YouTube channel. Check it out. Tuesday and Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon on the East Coast. You have Mission Ready Men with Big E, who is an amazing human being. Tuesday and Thursday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. You have BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. And then Monday and Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific, you have the Reader of Common Sense, who I believe is closer to a return. He's having some health issues. I'm hoping that he's getting over it for his sake and for the network's sake. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this evening. I will see you Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Take care.